Hello and welcome to the video. Thanks for tuning in as usual. Today we're going to be looking at replying to or making a video in response to a reply to the video that we did last time. Look, the last video we did about CgmBet tables, I asked for suggestions on anything you want to see. Somebody kindly replied to that comment, and now I'm replying in kind by doing a video on what they asked for, which was a strategy that would have an 80% plus strike rate and would not have too much of a big drawdown. I think 4 games. We said you can be back or lay. I'm going to explain a little bit about why you need to be careful with purely using strike rates to choose your strategies. But I'm also going to show you how the system can do that, and we come up with a system that's got much higher than that. I think it's 95% strike rate over 5 seasons. That was the other caveat; it had to be 5 seasons worth of data. So yeah, take a look and let me know what you think. And as ever, if there's anything else you want to see, just leave a comment. Cheers.
So the brief was to create a system that had an 80% plus strike rate over the last 5 years and didn't go on more than a 4-game losing run, and it could be a back or lay strategy. And the question also was, is this pie in the sky, or is it something that can be done? Basically, yeah, of course you can. You can easily create a system that has an 80, 90, 95% strike rate in terms of winning bets. But it doesn't, and this is the key thing, it doesn't mean that it's going to be profitable. In fact, 99% of those strategies probably won't be profitable because the yield will be so low due to the low odds you're going to get, that when you do hit a loser, it's going to wipe out anything you've accumulated. So it's a real balancing act in terms of making sure you're getting the correct value for your bets, making sure that you're working with the correct odds, and getting the right strike rate. So strike rate certainly isn't everything. I'd rather have a system that's got a strike rate of like 25% that returns a yield of sort of 50%. So yeah, that's something to be aware of. You can always create systems that are going to win, but you're in it to win money, not just win bets. So that's just a caveat to this. So the brief was to create a system that had an 80% plus strike rate over the last 5 years and didn't go on more than a 4-game losing run, and it could be a back or lay strategy. And the question also was, is this pie in the sky, or is it something that can be done? Basically, yeah, of course you can. You can easily create a system that has an 80, 90, 95% strike rate in terms of winning bets. But it doesn't, and this is the key thing, it doesn't mean that it's going to be profitable. In fact, 99% of those strategies probably won't be profitable because the yield will be so low due to the low odds you're going to get, that when you do hit a loser, it's going to wipe out anything you've accumulated. So it's a real balancing act in terms of making sure you're getting the correct value for your bets, making sure that you're working with the correct odds, and getting the right strike rate. So strike rate certainly isn't everything. I'd rather have a system that's got a strike rate of like 25% that returns a yield of sort of 50%. So yeah, that's something to be aware of. You can always create systems that are going to win, but you're in it to win money, not just win bets. So that's just a caveat to this. But let's have a look. So immediately I thought about over 0.5 goals, which is kind of a simple one for demonstration purposes. For this, I'd go to the upcoming module in CgmBet, and I am going to say I want to look at the last 5 seasons. So I'm going to change this here to 5. If you say all leagues, now I tried this earlier, you can do all leagues, and it would do, I think it's something like 275,000 games that it will look through. It takes about 3 or 4 hours to actually accumulate all that data, as you can imagine, because it gives you all of this data for 275,000 games over the last 5 years. It's mad. You can also create leagues to do like in batches. So you can say, I've done one called English Leagues here, and if I click that, it'll do all 4 tiers of the English. I can't remember if I put the conference in or not, but it'll basically do it for all the English leagues that I pre-programmed. I think it came out at 97,000 records for that one. But basically you can do it as deep as you want, but it's a time issue. I don't have an issue with that. I'm happy to leave it running in the background and come out with that big data, but just be aware that that's a thing. So in terms of the this demonstration, I'm just going to choose the Premier League. Let's keep it simple. So I'm going to choose the Premier League. I'm going to say last 5 seasons. I want the home scored statistics. That's what I want here, so that's what I'm going to be looking at. I'm going to stick to current season here, and what else am I going to do? Home versus away. I decided with this one we're going to be looking at a filter for the home team. We're going to want them to have played at least 5 games firstly to make sure it's valid data, and then I want to look at the home team to have had to average more than 1.50 goals per game. So I only want to see games where that is the case. That's probably it to start with. That's telling the database what I'm going to want to be looking at. Basically, it's telling it what fields to start populating for me. So I'm going to hit refresh on that, and as you can see at the bottom there, it's counting through, and there's going to be 7,601 records for this. So this won't. You can see how quickly it's going, but it'll take a few minutes because it's a lot of data. So we'll come back to look at that once it's run. So now that we've got the 7,600 games all loaded with all of the data that we need, we are going to look at adding in some draw stats. So I'm going to say for the odds for the draw, I want them between 4.50 and, well, I've put 9, but obviously that doesn't really matter. It's kind of irrelevant. You're not going to get draws up that high. But so my thinking is, I want the home team to have scored over 1.5 goals, and I want the draw odds to be above 4.5, which means if the draw odds are that high, that's ruling out 0-0, which means if we're looking at over 0.5 goals, we're going to get goals. So let's apply that and see how we look. And now we've got 1,395 games out of the filter of 7,600, so it's trimmed it down nicely. And what I next want to do is backtest. So this is one of my favourite parts of the system, of the software, to be able to backtest like this. So you simply press calculate, and what it's done straight away is ran all the data and showed us over the last 5 seasons of those 1,395 games what the outcomes and yields would have been, if you like, if we'd have bet on every single one of them. So you can see over 0.5, we were looking for a system that had an 80% strike rate, and as you can see, 94.9% strike rate for over 0.5 goals in the games where the home teams had over 1.5 goals or have scored over 1.5 goals at home, and the draw odds of 4.5 and upwards. 94.9% of the time, if you'd have bet on 0.5 goals in those situations, you would have been successful. You can see the yield is minus 2.33, so it's not going to make you money, as I said at the start of the video, but the strike rate is there, and it does give you something to hang everything else off. But what's interesting in this, which is I think is brilliant, is it will tell you what would have happened with all these other scenarios. So I said 0.5, but actually you look at it, if you'd have bet on under 1.5, you'd have actually been right 22% of the time, massively less than the 94.9% strike rate, but you would have actually been in profit of 2.51 units. So it just shows that the strike rate and the yield will vary massively. 94.9% looks like a brilliant system, but you're not making any money. 22%, doesn't sound like a big number, but you're making money. There's also money in the under 3.5 goals market. You can even look over here and say, so of those games where the home team scores over 0.5 goals at home, or 1.5 goals at home, averages over 1.5 goals at home, and the odds are above 4.5, it shows you that the home team would have won that game 867 times, which is 62% of the time. There would have been a draw 15% of the time, away 21% of the time, over 2.5, 59%, under 2.5, 40.42%. So, and it will show you the yields there as well. I mean, it's pretty clever, isn't it? So that's a way you can build a system with an over 80% strike rate, going back over 5 seasons. The only thing that I haven't necessarily addressed in this video is the 4-game drawdown. So not going more than 4 games without it losing. But the fact that it's up at 95%, I think is probably good enough for us to see that there's not going to be a massive drawdown on that, because it basically wins all the time. So you're not going to go 5, 6, 7, 8 games without getting a winner. But there is a much more intricate way of finding out exactly how many games it would have gone. But there's no point throwing data after data if there's no real benefit at the end of it. So yeah, I hope that answers the question for that, and yeah, feel free to throw any more.
So I hope you found that useful. I hope it sort of shed a bit of light on how you can use the upcoming module, just one of the modules on offer with CgmBet. We quite easily sort of did a very simple system. Don't want any comments talking about how this system's been done a million times and oh, you're not going to win money. Look, it was an example of how to use the data. There's so many people quick to comment on the quality of anybody's different strategies. I'm not claiming this is a bloody strategy, just, chill your boots. So what I am saying is it's easy to do. We can create strategies upon strategies based on different variables. You need to be careful with looking at what yield you're getting, because otherwise you could be just betting for the sake of betting and not actually making any money. So if anyone's got any more intricate sort of strategies they want me to have a look at, sort of specific, I want teams to have scored X amount of goals for the last 3 games, whilst the opposing team must not have drawn in the last 6 games, and I want the odds for the win to be between this, that and the other. Just let me know in the comments and I'll see what I can do. I'm not saying they'll always be modelable, but I'll be able to come up with some. So yeah, thanks for watching. If you want to get involved with CgmBet, as I've mentioned, the link's in the description for 50% off the subscription. And yeah, man, I'll tell you, see you all soon.